Hello everyone, welcome back to our States Builders. So while we've been working on the outside and also doing a bunch of other stuff with other jobs, I have had my guys just on a few rainy days and other times when they just need a little something to do. I've had them do a little bit of work in here. So the last time that we came through here, this opening was just a standardized door about this size over here. This is the entrance going from the existing dining room into the kitchen. And now we have enlarged that opening. We'll have to repair this plaster up here. What I will probably do is I'll probably end up cutting might even take it all the way back to the corner here. And then on this side, at least take it back about to the next stud, maybe 2 studs over. Cut it off, square it up, may go all the way to the ceiling, or I may stop it right there at that piece of trim. The reason for at the trim is just it's another stopping point. I don't like repairing from the edge of a door to the edge of a door opening. The reason why is because you have all this weight that's bearing down right here on these studs. And so if the floor moves at all, it transfers that pressure all the way up, and that's where you will end up like what's over here in this corner here. So it's kind of hard to see, but you can see this fracture, that crack that goes up at an angle from the door jamb up through. That is a very common thing that happens when you have a seam right in line with that jack stud. So instead, I like to take my jack studs back, my seam in the sheetrock back at least 1 stud, or even split the seam over the center of the doorway. By centering it up in the middle of the header, that section of the header is less apt to move. You don't end up with that traveling crack, which is very common. You find especially in a lot of newer homes. It's where the sheetrockers, they sheetrocked up to the door jamb, then they sheetrocked up to this side of the door jamb, and then they just put a piece from one side to the other up top. But that creates later on, the mud to hairline fracture straight up from that location. So we'll end up cutting that back, but that's just minor. We were trying to get our inspections in here was the main thing. So in the kitchen here now, of course, you've seen us rip out all the cabinets, but that's the last thing you saw. So we have rewired everything according to the new layout for the kitchen cabinets, which is fairly simple, fairly similar to what it was. The stove will still go back right here where it was. The sink, they're still wanting to be right there in front of that window where it was. The dishwasher is going to be roughly in the same spot that it was as well, right around here, almost centered of that window. And then, but the change will be is that instead of it going to that narrow cabinet, they'll be continuing to have full cabinet space all the way to pretty much right at the edge here of this window. And at the edge of this window here, that's where the refrigerator is going to go. So, again, I wasn't sure before how much, but we have left about 3 foot of that wall there. It's to help end that refrigerator without having to put an end cap on there. So that's that. We got our big beam. That beam is technically oversized for this opening. The reason being is because this is not a load-bearing wall. The load-bearing wall is over here on that one. So this one is really just holding up a tiny bit of sheetrock right there. But we still sized it accordingly. I like doing that anyway. It just gives the extra. The other thing that they're planning on doing for added cabinet space is right around, somewhere's around here, not entirely sure. We got a wire sticking up through the floor here. What that is, there'll be an island here that'll add a little bit of counter space, a little more counter space, and cabinetry. So we actually have in the ceiling here, you can't see it because the insulation. So we got our rough-in inspections in here for both the plumbing and for the electrical. So the electrical and, the plumbing here. I know you couldn't really see it because of the light through the window. But we got all those. We got that inspected in there, and then we went ahead and insulated. The reason why is because it has been very cold here, and the heater was having to work extra. That's why we also have this plastic up here. We don't really need it. because that room's getting dusty anyway. The main reason we had put it up was to try to cut down the amount of cold air that was coming through both the floor, the walls, and the open ceiling here. So the heater didn't have to work as much. And we had that doubled. That's why now that it's falling there, I'm not worried about it, because we have the insulation in now, so we're good to go with that. But it served its purpose at the time. So we have put down tar paper over the subfloor that's here, because the subfloor that they had in these old mill homes is very similar to what you've seen in our other videos with the walls. It's just the 1x6 running at an angle, which is fine structurally, but it creates a lot of gaps in there for cold air to come up through. So we put that down to try and help cut down on that, and then we went ahead and we insulated from there this direction. We didn't insulate right here. The reason why is because, again, from previous videos, that will be a hallway right there. So it's not going to be an exterior wall right there. Another thing that we have done is we have put in 7 can lights. We got 3 over here. We've got another one in the middle of this area, because that will be cabinets there. And then we got 3 coming down through this wall. We did not put one in the center of this area here, because we're going to have that island, and we got that wire curled up in the ceiling up top, so that, because I don't like to put that box in ahead of time. Reason why is because once the cabinets are all in around the edge of the wall and everything's done over here with the trim, that is usually the time when I like to determine exactly where this way we want to put that island. Because if you set it a dead dimension, when everything's said and done, then the customer can see better what that distance is, and they may want to shift this cabinet a little this way. Maybe they only want to shift it an inch, but if they shift it an inch, that means that now my pendant light is a ½ inch off. And yes, it's only a ½ inch, but I would rather it be centered, because I will notice a ½ inch. I can notice a 1/16 on these outlets right here, the difference in height on these outlets. If it's like a 1/16 difference, it annoys my guys, but I see that, and I don't want that to happen with the pendant light. So I put it in after the island is set, then I center it up on the island, and I run a plumb bob up to tell me exactly where I want to be. So that's the way I do that. We've got our 3-way switch here for the can lights. Over here we got a 3-gang box, which will have a 3-way for the can lights up here. It'll have a switch for the pendant light over this island, and it has a 3rd switch which is ran up for now with a 3-way wire curled up top to go through there whenever we get that part ready, and it will allow us to have a 3-way switch for the hall light, which, because the way it's set up, it'll probably have a 4-way switch near the office and then a 3-way switch down near the master opening. But so that's all of this area here. The other thing, of course, is there was the opening to that bedroom was right here, roughly, somewhere in this vicinity. I think actually it was maybe right here. I have to look back. It's been a while, and I don't really remember exactly. But anyway, that doorway was here, and we took that out. We have sized that beam accordingly for this size opening, which is really the same size as this one. It could have been a little bit smaller, but I like to go the extra mile. If it just makes it so much sturdier. But this header right here, we put it way up there. I don't think that's where we're going to need the opening to be. I believe that opening is probably going to be somewhere around here, is my guess. But they still haven't gotten, their cabinet guy has not came out here, has not specified exactly what size cabinets he's putting in there. So, but I wanted to get my inspection so I could get all this insulated and help cut down on the heating bill. And so in that case, we simply put it all the way at the top, and then we can just frame down with some dummy framing later. Something to just hold sheetrock. It doesn't have to be structural below that point. It's just going to hold sheetrock, and that way we could at least get through our inspections. We did put an outlet up high in here. The reason is because they intend on, they don't want to have a microwave over the stove. They want to just have a hood, and they were wanting to put a microwave in these pantry cabinets here. So of course we built that wall right there that just comes across. I'll show that from the other side as well. We put that wall in, and I had actually sheetrocked that wall to for the same reason that I did this plastic. We sheetrocked that wall because you can sheetrock one side before you get the inspection. When you sheetrock that side over there, it still leaves this side open. The inspector can look at the electrical, they can see the fire blocking, he can look at the studs and see that the studs are framed correctly. They can all still see it from one side. That's why you're allowed to do one side but still leave it open for them to see what they need to see. And just by sheetrocking it, it allowed me to be able to seal that off for heating purposes without having to put up more plastic that likes to fall anyways. And we were going to need a sheetrock it later on. So I had just thrown that up there. I have mudded the seams. And technically this was something that the microwave was an add-on later. So my guy still needs to fire block that. I'm not sure if y'all may have noticed that, but I'm going to have my guy, he's going to fire block that right there. So we will get that, but it's not a big deal. And if you go around now, you have to walk back around here and use the other entrance to the bedroom. This entrance was already here, but now it will be the only entrance to the room. So in this bedroom here, as you can see, that's where that wall, it just flushes up with that one and continues straight across for the back wall to the pantries. We've got our outlet there. We added one over there. My guy actually had put it too high and we had to lower it. And so I've just patched that, and we had to move the switch box for the fan that was over there over to here. And I put in a 2-gang, even though this fan is operating off a remote. I told him to put a 2-gang in. We ran a 14.3 from here up to a junction box that we then tied into here, so that if later on anyone ever wants to rewire this and have it where the switch and the fan are operated by a pull chain set and operate separately, they will have the option of having the switch over there. So for now, the second switch will do nothing, but it will be there for a future option. It'll save them having to try to fish a wire down the wall later. So we did that. Like I said, I taped it off. I just did a tape joint. This is not finished mudding. There'll still need to be a bed coat and a finish coat, but that at least helps cut those seams, helps keep the airflow down. And then the other thing that we've done in here, of course, is there was that double window there. There's still a window here for the egress or whatever. But again, that window was going to go, once we put the addition on, there's an office right there, not the outdoors. So we, of course, took that double window out. I did the same thing, sheetrocked it, and just did a tape coat on it just to help keep air out. So that's actually where we are at. You can see actually the remnants of the tape. That's where we had plastic across here, and it fell 3 times before, and that's when I said, whatever, I'm just going to put sheetrock up. So that's why we did it. It was on the front over there. We had it against a wall. It was easier, but because of this bump out, we had to hang it from the ceiling, and it really just was not cooperating well. It worked somewhat, but it would still end up falling and opening, especially with us going in and out, moving, adjusting this and all that. And again, it was so much easier to do that. So that's where we're at with the inside right now. We're really done in here until we get the addition added up against it, or if the cabinet guy goes ahead and tells me he's going to be ready with the kitchen cabinets at a certain time. Whenever he tells me that he needs me to be done, we can get this done. We've already had our inspections. We can sheetrock it and all that, but otherwise I'd rather just sheetrock it at the same time as we're sheetrocking that addition. It'll just be much easier than having to try and jump around. So as long as the cabinet guy, that works for the cabinet guy, that works for us, which I believe the last time that I did talk to him, he was saying that they're backed up a pretty good bit. Let's see. Give me just a second. Not sure how this... So I'm trying out a new camera too. It's actually a camera that I'm planning on, that my wife was wanting. It's a little camcorder. So I'm trying it out and just seeing how well it does for her. So it'll end up being hers when I'm done, but I'm just giving it a shot, seeing how it does. I may have to retake this whole video. I don't know. We'll just see. But with that, I'm just kind of really just messing around with it. a little bit. I wanted to flip the camera, see how well that does. But as far as what I was referring to, the last time I talked to the cabinet guy, it sounded like he's backed up pretty well. He asked me when I could have it ready. I said, well, I could have it ready in 2 weeks if you wanted. And he actually was a little concerned. He was like, I can't be ready in 3 weeks. And I said, okay, well, I mean, if you just tell me when you need it ready, I can have it ready. It sounded like he was looking much closer to 3 months, which again should be pretty well to where we can sheetrock this at the same time as we sheetrock the addition out there, which would be good. So, so this should be just a little video to help bring y'all up to speed as far as where we are at on the inside. You've been able to, most of the footage that we've been showing is the outside because that's where I've been working at mostly. Just using this as a little filler for my guys to have something to do. But as far as out there, right now we are framing the walls for the basement. So once we get those framed, we'll frame the ceiling joists for the basement, which are also the floor joists for the first floor, and then from there do the first floor, which is this floor here of that addition, and then we'll be moving on to doing the roof, ceiling joists, and the roof. So hope y'all enjoyed watching, and we'll see you the next time.